The history of Bondi Beach. The historical backdrop of Bondi Beach is pretty much as fascinating as a portion of the characters that live, work and play there today. From Aboriginal Dreamtime, to European settlement, swimsuits, seashore investigators, celebrations and model, Bondi Rescue and the scandalous Bondi hipsters. A well-known spot. There is some conflict with respect to the beginning of the word Bondi. One source recommends that Bondi, or Bondi, is an Aboriginal word importance water breaking over rocks or commotion of water breaking over rocks. While the Australian Museum records that Bondi implies where a trip of nullahs occurred. Native individuals involved numerous destinations in the space currently known as Waverley in the period before European settlement. There were various recorded sightings during the early pioneer time frame, and there are critical Aboriginal stone carvings, including unpleasant cutting of fish or fishes on the bluffs on Ben Buckler, the Bondi Golf Course and Mackenzie's Point. Early occupant, Thomas O'Brien, discovered Aboriginal remaining parts and stone hatchets after sand had been taken out from the inlet facing after a storm. Ethnologists from the Australian Museum in Sydney have additionally discovered proof among the stone carries out and stone instruments, the greater part of them disposed of as broken by their old producers, of innumerable ages of native specialists utilizing the seashore region as an enormous scope device making office, utilizing materials chipped and cracked from the volcanic channel and different shakes close by. A significant kind of Aboriginal device, the Bondi Point, was first recognized in the Bondi region. The Bondi Point is generally under 5 centimeters long and is once in a while depicted as an upheld cutting edge. A few models recommend that the focuses were set in wooden handles or shafts. It happens on waterfront and inland locales across Australia, typically south of the Tropic of Capricorn. The most established models come from Southeast Australia, dating from around 3000 BC, and the latest are 300 to 500 years of age. The native individuals of the space, at the hour of European settlement, have commonly been alluded to as the Sydney public or the Eora. Eora signifies individuals. One hypothesis depicts the Eora as a sub-gathering of the Darug language bunch, which involved the Cumberland Plain west to the Blue Mountains. In any case, another hypothesis proposes that they were a particular language gathering of their own. There is no obvious proof for the name or names of the specific band or groups of the Eora that meandered what is currently the Waverley region. Most sources concede to the Cadigal, yet there are sources which name the Bidigal and Birrabirragal groups too. Various spot names inside Waverley, most broadly Bondi, have been founded on words gotten from Aboriginal dialects of the Sydney district. Formal European settlement returns to 1809, when the early street developer, William Roberts, in acknowledgement of his spreading out the old South Head Street, gotten an award of 81 hectares from Governor Bligh, of what is currently the majority of the business and neighbourhood of Bondi Beach. From the mid-1800s, Bondi Beach was a most loved area for family excursions and picnics. In 1851, Edward Smith Hall and Francis O'Brien bought 200 sections of land of the Bondi region that accepted practically the entire facade of Bondi Beach, and it was named the Bondi Estate. Between 1855 and 1877, O'Brien bought a lot of the land, renamed the land the O'Brien Estate, and made the seashore and the encompassing area accessible to the general population as an excursion ground and entertainment resort. Admittance to Bondi Beach was made more helpful for Sydney occupants by the presentation of transport administrations by means of the Tea Gardens, named after the Tea Garden Hotel, arranged at what is currently Bondi Junction. Individuals would then advance toward the seashore through foot or via truck. Various private transport administrators like Old Steve, a happy glancing old individual in a white formal hat, given vehicle up to Bondi Junction. As Thomas O'Brien, the child of Francis, reviewed in 1923, the principal transport to Bondi was driven by Omerod, one of the brave 600. He was a standard fix. He got us where O'Brien Road strikes the old South Head Street. My dad paid him £1 5 every week. Waverley was the second Sydney suburb to turn into a region. This occurred on June 13, 1859, when Sir William Denison, who was the Governor-General and furthermore the Governor-in-Chief of the colony of New South Wales, declared the foundation of the municipality of Waverley. At perhaps the soonest meeting, in December 1859, the new Waverley Council separated the municipality into 3 wards, or segments, and named them Bondi, Waverley and Nelson. Later a 4th ward was added and called Lawson. Today those wards are named Bondi, Waverley, Hunter and Lawson. As the seashore turned out to be progressively well known, O'Brien took steps to stop public seashore access. Nonetheless, the municipal council accepted that the government expected to intercede to make the seashore a public hold. Anyway, it was not until June 9, 1882, that the NSW government acted and Bondi Beach turned into a public seashore. The primary tramway arrived at the seashore in 1884 and the line was jolted in 1906, supplanting the steam-fueled cable car motors and trailer vehicles. In 1926, Waverley Municipal Council presented leaving charges and planned leaving as because of the expanded prominence of vehicles. There were days where there were in excess of 1,000 vehicles left in and around Bondi, while in 1928-29, more than 87,000 vehicles utilized the council vehicle leave. The last cable car to North Bondi and Bronte ran on Sunday 28 February 1960. Bondi Beach in the waves. In the mid-1800s, swimming at Sydney's seashores was a dubious leisure activity. In 1803, Governor Philip King denied convicts from washing in Sydney Harbour in light of the threats of sharks and stingrays, and for reasons of dignity. In any case, by the 1830s ocean washing was turning into a famous movement, regardless of being formally restricted somewhere in the range of 9 a.m. and 8 p.m. During the 1900s these prohibitive perspectives started to unwind and the seashore got related with well-being, recreation and majority-rule government, a jungle gym everybody could appreciate similarly. In 1902 a man named Joe Gawker ridiculed Section 77 of the Police Offences Act which precluded washing between 9 a.m. What's more, 8 p.m. Following this, ocean washing was permitted unafraid of arraignment. As can be found in the picture beneath, when the new century rolled over a great many people went picnicking at the beachside and only from time to time swam. In 1905 Waverley Council consented to the development of 2 changing areas, one for men and one for ladies. Anyway, they were not considered sufficient by guests, as they clearly did not have a rooftop, which permitted travelers in passing cable cars some proportion of perceivability. As a result, in 1910 Waverley Council requested tenders for another design and acknowledged a bid for £3,000 put together by Taylor and Bills. The new sheds were finished in 1911 and were tenderly named the Castle, or Palace Pavilion, regarding the unmistakable turrets. The new sheds were depicted in the Sydney Morning Herald as follows: Bondi presently flaunts not just the most forward-thinking surf bathers' convenience in the state yet additionally the Commonwealth. It is given offices for 1,000 bathers and, the building, is separated into 2 segments giving convenience to 750 men and 250 ladies. Bathers' compartments are isolated by asbestos sheet parceling and the floor is completely of cement to guarantee neatness. Other than showers and different necessities for bathers, the front of the structure is given to the reasons for a lunch nook which is equipped for holding an enormous number of people, while wide verandas on the offshore side are additionally intended for casual get-togethers. In 1923 Waverley Council initiated the execution of the Bondi Beach and Park Improvement Scheme. The plan included arrangement of a booth and surf sheds, 3 restroom obstructs, a bandstand, parks to encompass the structures and expanded vehicle and person on foot offices. A rivalry was held to plan the constructions, which was won by the engineering firm of Robertson and Marks. The kick-off of the structure 1929 pulled in an expected horde of up to 200,000. The low-lying structure initially incorporated a dance hall, a men's club theatre, an amphitheatre, just as Turkish showers and change rooms. By 1929 a normal of 60,000 individuals were visiting the seashore day by day during summer ends of the week. By the 1930s Bondi was drawing neighbourhood guests as well as individuals from somewhere else in Australia and abroad. Publicising at the time alluded to Bondi Beach as the jungle gym of the Pacific. A significant part of the private advancement of Bondi Basin happened during the 1920s in a time of fast financial development following the limitations of the First World War. Private-level advancements were mainstream at that point, an improvement focused on regions with ordinary vehicle and potential for exceptional yield on venture. Today, Bondi's lodging stock mirrors these beginnings. In the 2006 evaluation, over 70% of families in the Bondi region lived in a level, unit or loft, and a further 14% in semi-disconnected column or porch lodging. The Bondi Pavilion was all around used for around 20 years after its opening. During the subsequent universal conflict, the first floor was ordered by the American Red Cross and the U.S. military to turn into an officials' club. After the conflict, moves were coordinated at the structure, and the returns went to burdened Australian-brought fighters back. In 1948, the structure acquired an alcohol permit. By the mid-1950s, use of the structure had started to decay, as changes in washing outfits from weighty material to nylon decreased the requirement for evolving rooms. In 1955, the gathering detailed a generous working misfortune for the structure. During the 1950s and 1960s, the ground floor reward rooms were as yet being used and worked by renters. Notwithstanding, the fundamental corridor and amphitheater were once in a while utilized. While trying to build local area cooperation, a performance center was opened in 1975 by Gough Whitlam. In 1977 and 1978, the evolving rooms, storage spaces, previous Turkish showers and patio were obliterated. In their place, another netball court, a workmanship exhibition, a recreation center and an amphitheater were developed. In 1978, the structure was formally resumed as the Bondi Surf Pavilion Community Center. Any guest today can see that the structure is presently looking somewhat drained. On 12 December 2015, Waverley Council reported that it will be renewed in a $40 million patch-up as a cutting-edge theatre and occasions space around a progression of palm tree-specked nurseries. Architects Tonkin Zulika Greer have been chosen for the hotly anticipated redesign. Waverley Council has saved $14 million over the course of the following 3 years for the turn of events. Bondi Beach was a common suburb all through a large portion of the 20th century, with traveler individuals involving most of the nearby populace. Following World War II, Bondi Beach and the eastern suburbs turned into a mainstream with Jewish transients from Poland, Russia, Hungary, Czechoslovakia and Germany. The region actually has various places of worship and a legitimate butcher. Bondi today is a multicultural blend, with a sizable number of late occupants from New Zealand, Asian and different Pacific Island foundations. Movement subsidized and drove the development of the suburb all through the 90s into the turn of the century, moving it consistently from its common roots towards an upper working-class territory like its neighbors of Rose Bay and Bellevue Hill. Bondi Beach is likewise renowned for its fascination with hikers and short-stay guests, especially those from the UK. A business shopping mall is isolated from Bondi Beach by Campbell Parade and Bondi Park, joining a vehicle-leaving region with 487 spaces. Gathering finished a significant redesign of Campbell Parade in November 2007, fundamentally improving traffic streams, access for public vehicle, and the general look and feel of the road. The town place comprises of properties along the western side of Campbell Parade, and on the two sides of Hall Street. It incorporates eateries and takeaway food outlets, guest convenience, shop clothing, outdoor supplies, and expression stores. With 3 lodgings and 3 clubs, it's anything but a mainstream night spot. It is assessed that Bondi Beach draws in more than 2.2 million guests every year and offers more than $320 million to the NSW economy. Bondi Beach facilitated the seashore volleyball contest at the 2000 Summer Olympics. A transitory 10,000-seat arena, a lot more modest arena, 2 warm-up courts, and 3 preparing courts were set up to have the competition. Bondi Beach is the endpoint of the City to Surf Fun Run, the biggest running occasion on the planet, which is held every year in August. The race draws in more than 63,000 contestants who complete the 14 kilometers run from the focal business region of Sydney to Bondi Beach. Other yearly exercises at Bondi Beach incorporate Flickerfest, Australia's head global short film celebration in January, Bondi Latin American Festival in March, World Environment Day in June, Festival of the Winds kite flying celebration in September and Sculpture by the Sea in November. The Bondi Beach markets are likewise open each Sunday and are certainly worth a visit. Notwithstanding the numerous formal social exercises, Bondi is home to a dynamic cosmopolitan social scene. Bondi hipsters to the side, there is incredible feeling of local area, and nearby movement, from yoga on the seashore, the Bondi to Bronte swim to the local area scented One Wave and the wonderful Fluoro Friday surf. The surf lifesaving development. The expanding prevalence of ocean washing during the last part of the 1800s and mid-1900s raised worries about open well-being and how best to keep individuals from suffocating. Accordingly, the world's first officially reported surf lifesaving club, the Bondi Surf Bathers Life-Saving Club, was shaped in February 1906, the first clubhouse a basic tent in quite a while. Surf watch individuals wearing their particular red and yellow quartered covers initially showed up at Bondi that mid-year. The recently framed Bondi Club shaped a lines and tackle committee under Club Commander, Lister Ormsby and Major John Bond, a Royal Australian Medical Corps official and educator, and S. Fullwood, Honorary Secretary. The Board of Trustees quickly suggested supplanting the current life float ring with a plug-filled life coat, once in a while known as the Ross safety belt, and looked to improve the treatment of the lines. New innovation was presented not long after. In view of a current plan, first utilized at Manly Seashore, was a model life-saving reel, defined by John Bond and built by Mentor developers, Olding and Parker of Newcombe Street, Paddington. The reel had its first preliminary at Bondi Beach on December 23, 1906. After some adjustment, it was first utilized in the salvage of two young men on 4 January 1907. One of those protected was Charles Kingsford Smith, later to acquire distinction as a pioneer pilot. For the Australian surf life-saving development, the reel was to turn into a focal point, as a machine, symbol and symbol. In reality, while the reel has for quite some time been supplanted by surf skis, salvage cylinders and salvage loads up, it stays the logo for some surf life-saving clubs and still involves the focal point of the audience in the March Past. The March Past is a serious walk by groups of lifelines conveying the reel. From Bondi, the surf life-saving development spread, at first through New South Wales and afterward to the remainder of Australia and afterward across the world. With the consoling presence of surf lifelines on the job, seashores became spots of elating swimming and surfing as opposed to expected misfortune. Alongside the digger and the bushman, the surf lifeline holds a notorious spot in Australia's social symbolism. The lifeline developed to turn into an acknowledged element of the seashore and an image of what apparently was acceptable about being Australian. This was intensely built up by the emotional occasions of Dark Sunday at Bondi in 1938. Approximately 35,000 individuals were on the seashore and a huge gathering of lifelines were going to begin a surf race when 3 monstrosity waves hit the seashore, clearing many individuals out to the ocean. Lifelines safeguarded 300 individuals. The biggest mass salvage throughout the entire existence of surf washing, it affirmed the spot of the lifeline in the public creative mind. Australian surf fairs additionally ingrained this picture. Especially mainstream during the between-war years and following World War II, these presentations of display, control, strength and expertise drew huge groups and surprisingly illustrious consideration. A Royal Surf Carnival was held at Bondi Beach for Queen Elizabeth II during her 1954 visit through Australia. The consolation of pre-juvenile individuals, or youngsters during the 1960s was another significant advancement of post-war surf lifesaving in Australia. Today, Surf Lifesaving Australia is one of the biggest and best cross-country relationship of volunteers committed to ensuring the well-being of seashore participants. Surf lifelines have saved more than 520,000 individuals in the long time since records have been kept. What's the contrast among lifeguards and lifesavers? Lifeguards are the young men dressed in blue on Bondi Beach who watch 365 days per year. The 35 lifeguards are paid experts utilized by Waverley Council. They have extreme obligation regarding seashore well-being on Bondi and play out most of salvages. The mainstream Bondi Rescue is an unscripted television show, broadcast in more than 100 nations, that follows the day-by-day lives and schedules of the lifeguards. It has been underway since 2006. Bondi's volunteer lifesavers wear the conventional red and yellow. The Surf Lifesaving Association volunteers watch on ends of the week and public occasions throughout the late spring months. The two administrations have long and pleased practices, with numerous lifeguards coming up through the positions of neighborhood surf clubs. Lifeguards and lifesavers work connected at the hip to guarantee surf well-being on one of the world's most active seashores. What number of salvages are there at Bondi? It's hard to foresee the everyday recurrence of salvages at Bondi as climate and water conditions, school occasions and fluctuating traveler numbers influence the quantity of salvages performed. Lifeguards can perform any place from no salvages on one day to more than 200 salvages on one more day. Week by week, it can go from 10 to 400 salvages. Overall, every year, lifeguards salvage around 2,500 extremely appreciative individuals. Of the complete salvages performed at Bondi, lifeguards perform about 80%, while the rest are performed by volunteers from the Bondi and North Bondi surf clubs. History of lifeguards. The expression, lifeguard, has just been utilized since around 1994. Preceding that, the council staff who watched the seashore were known as seashore inspectors. The principal beach inspector, Dennis "Dinny" Brown, was named in 1913 to care for swimmers at Bondi Beach. Seashore inspectors and lifeguards have been a basic piece of Bondi's long and bright history. Sharks and shark nets. Since 1937, not one individual has kicked the bucket from a shark assault at Bondi. Anyway, there are as yet ordinary shark sightings at Bondi. Swimmers are made aware of the presence of sharks when they are distinguished. However, the principal line of protection for a long time have been shark nets. Shark nets are utilized on untamed seashores in Queensland and NSW. They are basically a straight, rectangular piece of net suspended in the water between floats. They are secured at one or the flip side, as a rule around 200 meters from shore, in around 10 meters of water. Most shark nets stretch around 200 meters along the seashore and down to a profundity of 6 meters. Buoys at the top and sinkers at the base keep the net upstanding in the water. The lattice openings are 50 centimeters wide, adequately little to ensnare sharks and other huge marine species, yet large enough to let more modest fish be. The nets, notwithstanding, are not planned to frame a total boundary, and sharks can in any case overcome. The nets go about as an obstacle by interfering with the regional swimming examples of sharks. In a regular 20 kilometers stretch of seaside surf seashore, a portion of net will be set up a few kilometers along the seashore.